Welcome back to the Adaptive Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Hotho. Before we begin today's episode, I just want to share a personal note. We're 15 episodes in on this podcast, and truthfully, when this started, I wasn't sure if we'd get that far, but we're there, and we got more coming on the way. And if you found these episodes helpful, if one of these stories has connected with you, I would really encourage you to do a few things. One, rate and review the podcast. Just get a rating and a review out there, even if it's a 3 or 4 star one. Be honest, but share a review about what this podcast means to you, because it'll help other people find the podcast. And most importantly, share the episodes that impact you the most with somebody, whether that's somebody that you know, or if you just want to share it on your social media so that other people find the podcast, hear these amazing stories, and share them with their friends. Because chances are we know somebody who could benefit from adaptive fitness. So on today's episode, I'm joined by Lexi Kuppler. Lexi is a Paralympic track athlete, an adaptive CrossFit competitor, and I'm just really excited to have her on the show to talk about CrossFit, to talk about fitness, but also to talk about her awesome nonprofit work that she is doing. Lexi, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Great.
Good. Awesome. I'm so glad we could connect. Lloyd Burns suggested that I talk to you. Lloyd is one of the original friends of the pod. I think he was episode 3. And he was like, you have got to talk to Lexi. So Lexi, I've heard a little bit of your story, but tell me a little bit about your story, kind of how you started doing sports and then how you became an adaptive athlete.
Totally. Yeah. I think I met Lloyd at the CrossFit Games because we both trained in Michigan for the CrossFit Games. So it was a fun connection. I have been an athlete since I was a kid. My parents had me in just about every class you can think of, just learning all the sports and having fun doing it. So it's been fun for me to just be active and on the go, you could say, all the time. And so as a kid, I eventually narrowed in on being a soccer player and figure skater as a kid. And so in high school, I played soccer as my main sport. And then in high school at 16, the start of my junior year of high school, I was in a boating accident where I lost the lower portion of my left leg, which would catapult me into amputee world, becoming an amputee and figuring out how to navigate sports now with a prosthetic. And so I'd go on to play soccer my senior year of high school as a forward on the soccer team. Wow. Forward was kind of my new position, as I didn't have to be a midfielder anymore, running from one end of the field to the other to kind of cut back on that sprinting. But I ended up scoring 1 goal in my senior year soccer career, which was probably the highlight of my soccer career for my whole life, because it was kind of a full circle. Like, I was back doing what I love to do. And so that was my first kick back into sports as an adaptive athlete in an able-bodied world, on an able-bodied team. It was important for me to kind of just immerse myself back into what I had known and loved. And so I went on to college. I entertained playing soccer in college, and it didn't feel like the right fit. The coaching system and stuff like that didn't feel like it was somewhere that I was meant to be anymore, but I knew I wanted to do sports still. So I moved on to, I thought maybe I'll try track and field. And so the Paralympic team had actually, the coach at the time had found me on the internet from playing soccer. And obviously with soccer, you know how to run, but you do not know how to run like a track and field athlete. They're very different sports. And so in college, I joined the track and field team, where I would go on to compete as a D2 athlete, running the 100 meters, 200 meters, and long jump, as well as competing with the Paralympic team at World Championships and a few other fun events around the country. Yeah. So my track career was something I wasn't expecting to do, but something that has molded me into the athlete I am today, because I trained with top level athletes at training facilities. I lived at the Olympic Training Center. I got to travel the world with all these athletes. So it was a way cool way to kind of just meet people, see the world, and also see what my body was capable of doing as an adaptive athlete. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And so you enjoyed more of those sprintier kind of distances, the 100s and the 200s?
I am a sprinter. So I have a husband who is an Ironman athlete, and he could go, go put shoes on and run a marathon without even thinking about it. Yeah. If I could run a 5K, I'd be happy. So I am a short distance sprinter athlete by far. It's just I'm built that way. I got that fast twitch muscle, not the slow twitch.
So just out of curiosity, what was your 100-meter time?
Um, Gosh, this was so long ago. I don't even remember at this
Okay,
point.
no worries.
Long jump was my main. I felt the best about long jump. I loved long jump the most. I loved having multiple attempts.
Hmm.
The 100 and 200 was a challenge for me more mentally to
Mm.
think about making it all perfect. The 100 meters is over in less than 15 seconds,
Yeah.
right? So you're just like, you have to make it perfect. For me, I enjoyed long jump. Um, it gave me like to fix any issues, to fix mistakes I may have made in a previous jump. Probably being in the sand because I'm a beach girl. I enjoyed that part too. It made it a little like more different than just running around the track. But yeah, so 100, 200. I love the 200 too. That was a fun one. And so yeah, track was cool.
That's cool. Yeah, my boys run track, and
Yeah.
so it's always fun
Okay.
to hear somebody who like really runs track, and then they give their times, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, oh, these are
Yeah.
kids.
I'd
These are
have to
kids
look
just
it
playing
up.
around.
Yeah,
No,
I
it's
have
like
to look it up to remember. I will say my very first track meet ever was I competed as an adaptive athlete, but it was a collegiate one. And I had no idea what I was doing. And in hindsight, I'm like, I can't believe I did that. But I went to like, I was in line for my sprint, and then I looked at one of the coaches and I was like, I don't even know how to get into the starting blocks. I'm like, I've never done this before. And like, they were like, oh, I'm like, nobody told me. Like, and then once I became like, well, like trained, I'm like, that was so crazy that I even did that because there's so much that goes into just learning how to do the starting blocks. And
right.
so, um, but it just goes to show like start before you're ready because you'll eventually learn how to do stuff along the way. So yeah.
That's right. That's right. So you mentioned
Yeah.
the sand, the beach. Where are you
Mhm.
at right now, by the way? I think that'll be
I
fun
am
for.
in Hawaii.
Okay, but you're not
Yeah,
from
on
Hawaii.
Oahu. I am not from Hawaii. I originally grew up in the Midwest, and then I went to school in California
Yeah.
when I turned 18.
So you've always had a thing for the water, for the beach, for that kind of thing.
Yes,
So
yes,
I want to talk then about what you have started doing to give other adaptive athletes a space to experience water sports. Because I think adaptive athletes would never think that, especially amputees would think, oh, I can go into the water with my
yeah,
prosthetic and that kind of thing. So yeah.
totally. So I have started a nonprofit called Brave the Wave. Our nonprofit teaches people with physical disabilities how to wake surf. That is our number one slogan. Our hope is that as we like phrase it, changing one life at a time with a single wave. And so I think I saw a need in an adaptive world being immersed so deeply into adaptive sports and knowing what kind of clinics were out there and knowing what people were already offering. Um, and knowing that a sport like wake surfing is something that adaptive athletes don't necessarily think they can always do. And for me, it's something that comes naturally to me because I've grown up behind a boat. But I wanted to show other adaptive athletes that there's no reason they can't be doing this. And with the right gear and coaches and training, it's 100% doable. And it's something I want to show them that they're capable of because I think it just teaches you're capable of doing so much more than you ever thought possible. So don't ever limit yourself. Um, One cool aspect for amputees, we bring out different kind of prosthetic gear to try. We have the Versa foot out there to try if you've ever wanted to try that. We bring a certified prosthetist to each event. So there's someone there that's certified to swap out all your gear and help you do that and maybe teach you how to swap out your own gear if you don't know
Hmm.
how to do that yet. And so we have all the basics covered and that sort of stuff to make sure that when you do go out, you're equipped with the best possible gear that we believe is on the market, and to kind of give you the most success behind the boat.
So what do you do for things like water causing a prosthetic to fall off or salt water leading to like corrosion on a
Yeah,
prosthetic?
totally. The salt water, I've noticed as long as we like rinse you off pretty quickly and stuff like that, I haven't seen too many issues.
Okay.
Yes, I will rust things out from time to time. It's kind of the nature of wearing metal in the water.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's also, I think, in amputee world, if you have a prosthetist that agrees with this, you're wearing it, and if you break it, it's because you've been using it to its full ability. And I think that it probably, if you do a lot of sports and stuff, you will break a prosthetic from time to time. It's just kind of the nature of it. It's not our bones, right? Equipping us to do what we need to do. And so I've broken my fair share of prosthetics doing stuff. But I think the saltwater is that, and then losing or keeping it secured to your limbs. We have a bunch of different things. We have wetsuit shorts, we have full wetsuits, there's an AK sleeve that will kind of like suction underneath your socket so that it stays there, and then it has a belt that's attached to it that goes around your waist.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I have a few different, like, just kind of depends on the person, what fits you best, what you want to do.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff. Yeah, we only have one rule at our with amputees is no test sockets. People will come out with a test socket and want to surf, and I have to send them home because that's my only thing that I'm like, we can't find a way to fix that. That's not safe. So that's our only rule.
So this might be an educational thing for me and maybe other people listening. What's the problem? What is a test socket and why can't you use that like a regular one?
Totally. So getting fitted for a socket has multiple stages. And so when you're getting fitted for a new socket, before they make your final socket, probably out of carbon fiber, we want to make sure it fits and it's comfortable and all that stuff. And so a test socket allows for that. The test socket is made of a brittle plastic. It could be a Vivac plastic or depending on what your office makes it out of. But that plastic can break easily if it were to be hit with anything. So it's not meant to go do all the activities. Now, does that stop people from using them to do that stuff? No. So you'll still see people wearing them around. It's meant to, some prosthetists will send you home to maybe wear it for a few days to see if you have any issues and stuff like that. But it's meant for very basic stuff, just to test along the way before your final socket is created to make adjustments. What's cool about a test socket is the plastic is moldable. So it can be heated and it can be changed. So say like I'm below the knee amputee. My tibia pushes on the front of my socket a lot more than anywhere else in my socket.
Okay.
So for me, let's heat it and bump out a space in the front of my socket so my tibia has that room that it needs to like fit properly and not rub inside my socket. So that's something like I would do with the test socket. So there's a lot of things that people do. Any amputee has had a test socket, hopefully, because I shouldn't say always, but hopefully. And it's just part of the process of getting your final socket. It takes a lot of steps.
So you seem to know a lot about this as an amputee yourself, but you've also studied what's the word for it?
Prosthetics and orthotics. So it's OMP. OMP is the acronym. But I went to school for my bachelor's in exercise science and kinesiology. And then I later went back to school to get my degree in orthotics and prosthetics as a technician. So basically not an official prosthetist, but learning how to build everything and do that sort of stuff. For me, I worked a little bit in the field right after, before having a kid and right after finishing school. And then for me, though, it was something more so just to have the knowledge for my own life and well-being on how to fix and create my own gear, to not feel like I necessarily have to rely on an outside source to always keep me going. And I have a phenomenal prosthetist that I would call for anything at any time of day, but that doesn't mean I'm in his office all the time to fix something. So I wanted to feel like I had that freedom to just kind of fix what I needed to fix when it needed to be fixed until I could go actually to a shop and get it fixed. So yeah.
Yeah, so you got the knowledge to basically be able to maintain your own
Yes.
gear. And do you
Yeah.
build your own gear too? Like when you're doing
Um,
a different athletic endeavor or a water sport or something like that?
so when I was, I have like casted myself and built sockets. I don't wear them on the regular. They're not my best sockets. They still make them better at my prosthetic office, obviously. But so I have made my own gear. When I was pregnant, I was concerned about swelling,
Mm,
and my socket no longer fitting me. And I really wanted to make sure that I was able to walk my entire pregnancy. I didn't want to ever feel like I was like bound to not being able to move to some aspect. I just wanted to
yeah.
be able to move still. And so they let me come in and create a socket that was a bigger shape for me, and I got to do that for myself. So I do have that one that I'll wear when if I'm very swollen. So I did create that myself. But yeah, so I've created a few. It's also given me the knowledge at Brave the Wave to help people adjust their own prosthetics on the spot out on the
Hmm.
boat or in the water or whatever it is, to kind of like tweak things for them or change an alignment a little bit if they need it, if they're trying out our gear and stuff like that. So it's given me a really cool like dynamic in what we're doing to be able to not just teach water sports, but also kind of empower you to use your gear to the
Hmm.
best of your ability.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love that idea of being able to empower somebody who now has this thing they're going to live with for the rest of their lives, but not just to be dependent on another person for that source of information, but be able to know for themselves what they might need to do.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you said before we started recording that designing prosthetics is almost a mixture of science and art.
yeah, yeah. So I think I had my teacher tell me prosthetics is science and art because there is an anatomical science to it, right? We do need to make sure it's functioning correctly for your body to be working at full capacity, aligned, right?
Hmm.
And that you're comfortable and all that stuff. But there's an art in the sense that there's not one textbook answer for how each prosthetic should look. It's creative. It's about being creative and figuring out what works best for that individual. And I think that's so cool because that's any adaptive thing anywhere, right? Like that's CrossFit, that's wake surfing, that's taking a walk down the street as an adaptive athlete, you know?
Yeah.
It's not the same for everyone experiencing the same type of injury or whatever it is. And so I think you get to be creative in your sockets. You can also design your prosthetics, right? Your sockets can be like full of glitter or a different fabric or whatever it is that's kind of your vibe you want to send out there to the world. You have that ability to like express who you are within your own prosthetic. And so I think it makes it fun in that way.
That is really cool. I like
Yeah.
it. You can have some
Yeah.
attitude, some character to it. I love
Yeah,
it.
totally.
All right, can we talk about some CrossFit stuff?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So you were a podium athlete in 2024. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, third place at the games. That's awesome. And what division do you compete in?
I can be in the lower limb division for the women. So I think I don't know if it's called a BK, but the lower limb
Oh, below knee.
impairment.
Below knee.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. You're
Yeah.
not competing this year, but I thought we could talk about some of your experiences in the past doing CrossFit. So
Yes.
what's one of the best moments that you've had in the gym?
So I think I've dropped in at a lot of CrossFit gyms and I've learned a lot of techniques along the way. And I think having a coach that, like, when you're doing a movement, all of a sudden it clicks have been
Hmm.
my best moments. And so one of those moments for me is toes to bar. It's come to be like one of my favorite things I see programmed because I love doing toes to bar. And I can't tell you why. I think for one day, like I was just doing them and it clicked. I'm like, this makes sense how to do this movement.
Yeah.
And I feel efficient and strong at it. And even after coming back from a baby and rebuilding my core and all that stuff, I think that's been one of my favorite movements to learn along the way and master as I've done things.
So the flip side of that, as an adaptive athlete, what's
Mhm.
one of the hardest moments that you've had in the gym?
Hardest moments, I think, is stepping into a new gym and getting like not establishing yourself, but getting the gym to understand you as an athlete. And I know I have the knowledge to walk into a CrossFit gym and know the movements and know what I'm capable of doing and how to do them according to my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the hardest part is stepping into a gym and them telling you how to do movements that it's not how your body moves. And as an adaptive athlete, it can be frustrating, I think, for athletes to kind of move past that because not every coach is used to coaching adaptive athletes, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think that can be the tricky part. I think I've experienced that a lot of times in a gym, and just kind of learning a gym, learning coaches, and not letting that stop you from joining a gym or being in the gym. Just kind of navigating that scene.
Yeah. What's a movement that's particularly hard for you as a lower BK?
I think anything with a shrug where you got to come up on your toes.
Mm.
So like a clean or yeah, anything that's like a clean and above, where it's kind of come off your shoulders and go up higher like that. I think it gets hard when the weight is heavy because it'll requires a lot of drive through your feet.
Mm-hmm.
And so that for me has been the most challenging to up my weight in lifting because when I up the weight, I end up doing it more on one leg than on two legs because I got
Yeah.
to really push through my feet, but then my prosthetic pops off the ground. And so I think that those movements, no matter how much I train them, right, my foot is always going to come off the ground because it's just how my body is lined up at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, I love a deadlift or a back squat because my feet are planted firmly on the ground and I can drive through them as much as I want and lift as much weight as I want.
Yeah.
So I think those movements have been the most challenging, just the shrug and trying to get up on my toes, that sort of thing.
And then like maintaining that balance when you either land
Yes.
or when you're pressing through the ground.
Yep.
Do you find that you end up like powering everything, like power cleaning and power squatting or power
it ends
snatching?
up being like a muscle,
Oh
everything. Like
wow.
I just
Okay.
muscle it up a lot of the times.
Yeah.
I will say I've got a lot better. I've had some great coaches kind of teach me different techniques on getting the cleans and like shoulder presses like going so that I feel stable when I do them. I think for me, the most important part was feeling stable before trying to lift heavy because I really wanted to feel like I could do the movement correctly and not hurt myself and then up my weight.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. But yeah, that's been a learning curve, but I think it will always be a learning curve because I got to navigate just one foot instead of having two.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What's one thing you wish a coach knew about training you?
I think being open to viewing movement in a different way because I've had coaches that a movement is only performed in one way and that's the only way it can be done. And I think as an athlete, I know that's not true, right? And
Yeah.
so I think as an adaptive athlete, we have to learn like you will come across those coaches and they so mean well. Like they don't like mean to like tell you you're doing it wrong. But as an adaptive athlete, you also have to know that maybe that's not the kind of coaching that you need in the gym. Because I think a great coach for an adaptive athlete knows that there's multiple ways to do one single movement. It's not black
Yeah.
and white, but it's a lot of cool adaptations that we can make. And so my best coaches have always been ones that like, hey, let's try it this way. Let's
Mm-hmm.
try it this way. Or what if we did it like that? And it's so helped me as an athlete because I think I've learned different ways to do things and be better at them because a coach saw it from a different aspect than I've even thought about doing it. So I think that's my biggest coaching thing is just to remember there's so many ways to do a single movement. It's not one way.
That's right. That's right. Because there's so many
Yeah.
different adaptations you can do and creative ways you can do it. What's your favorite memory from the 2024 games?
2024 games, I think the group of ladies that I competed with was by far my favorite memory. I've competed in a lot of adaptive sports, and each group that you compete with is always a different vibe.
Mm-hmm.
We had ladies from all over the world in my division. It was a smaller group. We had 6 or 7 ladies competing. And I think it was a fun group of ladies to be on the floor with. We had a lot of fun just kind of like warming up together, competing and pushing each other, which isn't something you always get in
Yeah.
competition. You
Yeah.
don't always get like friendliness. So I think this group of ladies I enjoyed being with on the competition floor, but also we were out there doing 110% the best of our abilities. So no one was like backing down, but everyone was cheering each other on at the same time. And that's fully knowing like someone may be able to do something way better than you. And, like, and that's the name of the game. But I enjoy in competition these days kind of the camaraderie of your group, but
Hmm.
also like to be hanging out and friends with each other along the way. It just makes it, to me, if it's not fun, I don't want to be there, because if it's stressful, it defeats the purpose for me. And so I really enjoyed this group.
Yeah, and I feel like it's hard to do adaptive sports in general, but in my experience, adaptive CrossFit, and really have a bad experience with the group that you're with, because everybody's
Yeah.
just so thankful to be there.
Yeah, yeah, it's been fun. I think I will say I've competed in other adaptive aspects, and people are competitive
Yeah.
but not friendly along the way.
Okay.
And it kind of like it's a little bit of a bummer along the way, because we're all competing for the same end goal, right? And
Yeah.
so yeah, so I think it's fun to kind of like just be doing it together.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes when people are jerks and adaptive stuff, you're like, come on, haven't we all been through enough? Can't we just be nice?
Yeah. Yes, we're all on this journey together.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, clearly you haven't processed what you've gone through. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Fine.
Totally.
Fine. I'll take it. I'll take it. Okay.
Yeah.
But so that was 2024 and something really cool that happened. But I guess a week ago, something really awesome happened for you that was kind of a full
Yes.
circle moment. And it's on your
Yes.
Instagram, but can you tell me about it?
We're out in Breckenridge, Colorado, and the water sports industry, it's called the WSIA, does a summit in the snow every winter. So they bring all of us, all the water sports people, to the snow to ski and snowboard. And it's a summit to get together to basically network with other people in the same industry. And there is a brief award ceremony that is held just to kind of mention a few people that are kind of making an impact in the industry. And one of the awards is called the Larry Maddock Award. And the official description of this award is for someone who has given back to the water sports industry by volunteering their time, to just change the dynamic of the sport, or expand it, or whatever it may look like. And this award is, from my understanding, is given based off of if they think there is someone that can accept it. It's not just automatically given out. And so I was awarded this award this past year as the first female in the water sports industry to accept this award for our work in Brave the Wave that we've been doing. And so for me, I was in a boating accident at 16. I'd grown up on the water, and being on the water is just where I love to be. And so I think to be able to bring my whole adaptive community that I've grown with and just kind of embraced on a boat with me and teaching them water sports, and to have that recognized in an industry that has been obviously shaped my life, was just a full circle moment to see that, to kind of be standing on a stage in front of this entire industry, and to be able to kind of just say thank you for the support, and for them kind of seeing the importance of adaptive athletes getting behind the boat and doing the stuff that all of us love to do, that we naturally do, and experiencing that with the adaptive community. So it was way cool for me, full circle moment, to be like standing with people that have created this industry, right? They've created the first steps of like wakeboarding and wake surfing and all of that stuff. And so, yeah, it's way cool.
That's awesome. And yeah, like you said, a full circle moment. I mean, something that you probably couldn't have imagined in 2009.
No, I think if I told my 16-year-old self, like as I became an amputee, for me, I jumped right into it. It was something where there's no going back in saving my leg, right? So it was, how was I going to make the most of this going forward? And I jumped right into adaptive sports. I did a snow skiing adaptive event the next winter as soon as I possibly could. And I think if I told 2009 16-year-old me, like, hey, this is going to be way cool, I don't know if I would have believed it, but I would believe the fact that we would make the most out of this, because that was kind of my goal from the start, like figuring out how are we going to do this and do it well, because this is like, we got one life to live and we got to do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, quick lightning round.
Yep.
All right. What's the best place you've ever gone to wakeboard or do water sports?
I went surfing on Tavarua Island in Fiji.
Whoa, let's go. That's amazing. What was Fiji like?
It was way cool. I won a contest called Dare Yourself by Roxy. I can't remember what year it was, when I was in college. And part of the winnings was to go with 4 other girls. Each girl was from a different continent. And we met in Fiji and got to go on a surf trip together with a bunch of professional surfers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are out this is hypothetical. You're out wakeboarding and your boat breaks down and you need a Mouska to fix your boat. What Mouska are you getting?
I love it. Let's see. If the engine stops working, we probably have to get a wrench or pliers to open up something. That would be my guess.
And which member of Mickey Mouse's clubhouse would you want helping you out?
Oh, probably Goofy, long arms to get to the engine.
That makes sense. If you guys listening haven't picked it up yet, Lexi has a daughter at home. And so we were talking before about some of the content that they're watching and that kind of stuff. So my final lightning round question has to do with that. What is the best song in the musical or in the movie Moana?
Oh, gosh. Well, we actually really like Make Way by Maui.
Mm-hmm.
And then we sing them all, though. And now there's Moana 2. So we have like 2 soundtracks going. And Maui has a new song in Moana 2 called Chihu, where he sings it. And so that's, if you know, just saying that in Hawaiian culture or surfing or whatever, it's become very much a phrase in our house. So we have a lot, but there's a deep love for Maui in our house. And so if you search us on Instagram, you'll see our Halloween costumes from last year, inspired by our 2-year-old.
I love it. Moana, I haven't seen Moana 2 yet, but Moana 1, I was so into that movie that for my 31st birthday, I had people over to the house just to watch Moana. Like there weren't even kids there. I was like, I want to watch Moana. It's
a great movie. If anyone that hasn't seen it, you got to see it. It's a great movie, I think. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like her I Want song of like, it's so good.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. All right. 2 final questions before we wrap up. Okay. We're done with the lightning round now. We're done with all the kids content. Okay. So if someone's new to adaptive CrossFit or adaptive water sports, what's one thing you would tell them to encourage them to give it a shot?
I think just do it, because I think you'll never feel ready to just do it. So just do it. Because once you do it, you will be pleasantly surprised in what you're capable of doing. And I think we've had people come out who will stand on the back of a boat and be like, oh my gosh, I've never jumped into water before. Or like, I don't know how to swim, but you have your life jackets on. You have if you have the right team there to help equip you, to coach you and be in the water with you. I think it's something that anyone can get in the water, especially wake surfing, and be pleasantly surprised of what they're capable of doing with this sport.
Yeah. And then one final question. If you could go back and encourage a younger version of yourself, what would you tell her?
I've always lived by this motto a little bit, is to be fearless, but also when you are fearful of something, to not allow that to stop you from doing it. And I would love to say I've lived out that in every step of the way. But I have not. But I do my best to truly believe that even with fear and stuff like that, to not let that stop me from trying something, because I think that's when you'll be your best, is when it scares you a little, because it's important to you then. So I think do things with fear, do them. You don't need to be fearless, but don't let the fear stop you from doing what you want to do and accomplish.
Yeah. The fear is healthy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome.
Totally.
Thanks so much, Lexi. I really appreciated this time with you.
Thank you. This was awesome. So
All right.
thanks for chatting.
You're welcome. I'll see you later. I really enjoyed my conversation with Lexi. I really loved how her story recently came full circle, from having a love of water sports as a young kid and a love of the water as a young kid, to having her accident, to then rediscovering wake surfing and water sports through her nonprofit, to then be recognized by that community for her engagement. It's just an amazing story. You can check out Brave the Wave, her nonprofit that's dedicated to teaching adaptive athletes how to wake surf and experience the joy of water sports, by going to her website, which is bravethewave.co. And whether it's on land or water, adaptive sports are for everyone. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Adaptive Athlete Podcast.